All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're diving into a story that, honestly, almost defies belief: the Rockefeller dynasty. We're going to unpack the source material that asks a seriously provocative question about how they built one of the most powerful empires in modern history. So, here's the puzzle at the heart of this whole thing. Could one single family really achieve this level of dominance? Not just for one generation, but for multiple generations across basically every important sector of the globe. And here is the absolute kicker. Could they pull all of that off using the technology of the 1800s? We're talking no internet, no smartphones, no private jets, nothing. Just slow telegraphs, letters that took weeks to arrive, and trains. It just seems completely impossible. So how in the world did they do it? Let's get into it. Look, the story of the Rockefellers isn't just about a successful business. When you really dig into the scale of their influence, like the source documents do, it starts to feel less like a history lesson and more like a genuine enigma, something that pushes the boundaries of what we thought was even possible. And to really get it, you have to think way beyond just oil. The sources we're looking at don't describe their power as being one thing. No, it was a massive, tangled web of control. And this is what that web looks like. You see, their power wasn't in just one slice of the pie. It was the whole thing, a self-reinforcing ecosystem. Think about it. Money from oil gets funneled into charity and medicine. That shapes medical schools and research. Those schools then churn out doctors, politicians, and bankers who were educated in institutions funded by the Rockefellers, creating this deep, almost unconscious loyalty to their way of thinking. It was a perfect closed loop of power where every single part fed every other part. But this is where the official story hits what our sources call the 19th century wall. To pull off a plan this huge, this complicated, you need instant communication and fast travel. The Rockefellers had absolutely none of that. I mean, really think about these roadblocks. A telegraph message wasn't private and it was slow. A secret plan sent in a letter could take weeks, even months to get across the country. And coordinating with someone in Europe, you're waiting on a steamship. The fastest thing they had was a train, which chugged along at what, maybe 40 miles an hour? Trying to run a coordinated global strategy with those tools is, as one source put it, like trying to build the Death Star with a chisel and a piece of rope. It just doesn't make sense. And this is where things get really fascinating. Because faced with this logical paradox, some analysts actually tried to calculate the odds. What was the real probability of them pulling this off? So let's look at the numbers they came up with. The way this analysis works is it breaks down their success into a series of individual steps. For every move they made, entering a new market, systematically crushing all their rivals, all while keeping their grand plan a total secret, the model assigns a probability. And it's when you start stringing these incredibly unlikely events together, one after another, that the odds against them just become, well, astronomical. Okay, let's start with their first big play: oil. The analysis we're looking at estimates the odds of them achieving the Standard Oil monopoly, again, just using mail and spies on horseback, at around 6 in 10 million. Insanely difficult, right? But that's just the beginning. Then you add in their takeover of medicine. Through very strategic donations and funding key reports, they basically got to steer the entire future of American healthcare. The probability of also pulling that off, the model says it's about 6.75 in a million. So, what happens when the model puts it all together? The odds of one dynasty dominating oil, and pharma, and education, and finance, and politics. The number it spits out is basically meaningless. It's so small. It's 1.5 times 10 to the negative 39th power. That's a 0, a decimal point, then 38 more zeros than a 15. The odds are so low, they're functionally 0. And just to really hammer the point home, the research describes running a computer simulation. It tried to replicate their success 100 million times. And out of those 100 million attempts, how many times did any single entity manage to build a Rockefeller-level empire? The answer was 0. Not a single time. Zilch. Nada. According to the math, what happened in our history simply should not have happened. So if the conventional story of them just being savvy businessmen is statistically impossible, what are we left with? And this is where we move from the hard data into theory. And we have to ask, was this just some kind of off-the-charts human genius? Or was something else going on? When a story completely breaks conventional logic, you start to get some unconventional theories. The research points out that this statistical black hole leads some people to speculate in some pretty wild directions. We're talking quotes describing them as, and I'm reading this directly, full-on shadow horde, lizard wizard, interdimensional puppet masters. To even try and explain that statistical anomaly, the sources we're examining document several alternative theories that people have put forward. Now, let's be crystal clear. We're just reporting on the theories raised in this analysis. They include things like access to ancient blueprints from secret societies, guidance from some non-human intelligence, basically cosmic cheat codes, and even theories about supernatural help, like demonic pacts. These are presented as the kinds of extreme explanations people resort to when the facts just don't add up. But beyond all those sensational ideas, the analysis offers this much more profound thought. It suggests that what the Rockefellers built wasn't just a business empire. It was a masterclass in engineering reality itself. As the research puts it, it's a blueprint for shaping reality across time. And so, at the end of the day, we're not left with a clean, simple answer. We're left with this enduring mystery. The sheer size, the precision, the impossible coordination of their empire, all built with the most primitive tools. It just continues to challenge everything we think we know about history, power, and what's humanly possible. So the research leaves us right here with this question. Was the Rockefeller dynasty just the result of once-in-a-millennium genius? Was there some kind of hidden system at play that history just doesn't record? Or was it something else entirely? The numbers strongly suggest the official story isn't the whole story, leaving a massive puzzle right at the center of our modern world. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.